What's good, y'all? It's Clyde, aka Archangel's Idell, and right now I'm going over how to take advantage of an either or an unknown disadvantage or unknown advantage, and from either perspective. If you are if you are faced with an unknown disadvantage for yourself, this works. If you are faced with an unknown disadvantage for something you are trying to stop, you have something here too. If you are trying to work with an unknown advantage for you, to try to find an advantage to work off of a disadvantage you see or you're trying to figure out, that works both ways. So it's basically, a one-stop shop for three different either advantages or disadvantages from one realm of reality. So the only key here is you have to know what realm of reality you're dealing with, even if it appears to be a separate realm of reality from the one that it actually is. Okay. I'm gonna play y'all a song to help y'all remember a law of life about competition or conflict. The smallest one always wins. And we know from being here on Earth that things are not always as they appear. Something can appear to be small, but when you go like that, it burns you. It burned my chin hair. If I hold this to my lip intentionally, it's going to burn me. It's not like I'm above something like that. But the key here is you can always win when you're at a disadvantage to continue, because when something acts on you out of karmic alignment, in the sense where they are literally unjust in trying to do what they're trying to do, if you work with that as your advantage, because that's their disadvantage, and they if they're smart, they would know that too. So they remember all possibilities. So they can eventually have a workaround for. That's why in sports you have a counter move for somebody's move, and then you have a counter move for your counter move, and you got an infinite amount of moves at that point once you get it all. So So to review, smallness always wins. So if you feel dead, think small. I'm not gonna say that nicely. And if you knew, you would know why I wasn't saying that nicely. Because that's one thing you need to know, whether you feel a way about it or not. So wake up. All right, y'all, let's get it. Song time. 2 seconds, y'all. 2 seconds. Alright, y'all. So, and I'm gonna play out two songs. I'm gonna play yeah, two songs. Here's number one, The Bug's Life. Believe it or not, the smallest form that can have a body is an insect. By technicality, it is a form of an insect. All I know is a tree madness love. All I know is a true madness pain. All I know is a whole haze love. All I know is the best it's a buzz light. 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 Bitch, talk on like I cannot learn how to feel bad. I cannot be my way to. All I know is a true madness love. All I know is a true madness pain. All I know is all I know is a true madness love. All I know is a true madness pain. All I know is a haze love. All I know is what best is us. If we're bugs, where's our shell? It's here. It's here. It's here. It's here. Our shell. Ladies love putting long shells on them because they miss being bugs. They're like, dang, humans suck. They feel terrible. We're just more complex, so we got to make it even more simple, you know? At bugs, we don't have to think about shit. We need to have mental processes as bugs. That's the key. These things are literally bugs at heart. They don't have mental processes. They don't understand words at all. They literally only understand what you feel. So if you feel afraid, they see you more. You know, if you feel any way that doesn't feel good, literally they see you more. So these taste demons that I made a song about part of their birth that happened when I got sent to the mental hospital. I ended up meeting a person who actually knows some industry people, and you know, he had some special abilities, and he knew who I was, and he actually was the one who called me there that time to the actual hospital itself, and he was in there as a patient, and he was speaking to me. I could tell he was feeling me out from the beginning because he was one of the first people I talked to, but I could also tell he was feeling me out, and he was almost trying to relay verbally what I was thinking intentionally to make me feel like he was as spiritually advanced as me, but something was telling me he was trying to make me super calm for a good reason, and to not get too relaxed and be aware of the red flag of the feeling of his false intention of my benefit. So really it was a benefit of harm and not benefit. Really it was a benefit for him of harm for me instead of a benefit for me and him, which was what I was hoping it was from the beginning. That was my expectation for even speaking to him in the first place and not just walking away and ignoring him. So before I play the song, what happened was it's a pretty detailed storyline through the song, but essentially, so there's the excuse me, I'm trying to think of the right words here. What is the conspiracy the conspiracy theories the conspiracy theory of the Illuminati actually comes from this guy. He started the idea that people labeled. He started the idea that led to the actions that people labeled as a conspiracy theory that they were calling the Illuminati. So he said some things that tipped off my red flag to the point of cutting it off, and he felt I let him go too far without telling him to back off, because he felt like I knew too much, and I was just at one point I was probing him for information and just letting him tell me whatever he would tell me, and not even intending to act on the information how he felt I would act on the information if he were to share it with me. You know, it's a deep, complicated thing. Like, I'm literally just there trying to not be there. Like, the weirdest situation happened to get me there. Like, literally, randomly, the police show up, and we didn't even call them. So that says enough right there. You know what I'm saying? Like, nothing happened, and the police... the police show up on the door and say, "Time to go to the mental hospital, Clyde. We need you to come out to the car right now. We're going to break your door down." And then my roommate says, like, "I didn't call them this time. Like, I'll be honest, like, I was literally told and paid to call them last time. So I didn't call them this time. So I'm going back here, and you can do what you want. I know you got this." So she was out. So I just answered the door. I'm like, all right, so they're going to try to hit me a charge if they're actually police. So long story short, there was actually a special alignment during that time where they were trying to open up an antimatter portal to basically bring in a dimension into this world that they had already manifested in the mental plane as a non-physical entity. So they knew it had the capabilities of actually manifesting a physical body at the right time. But the key is, when you're birthing in a new world, you need to make sure you do everything according to your desire. So that's why they essentially put out the lie to say you're supposed to, go away from your desire. You're really supposed to follow your desire no matter what the case is, because your desire really tells you what the truth is of the situation and how to get through it. So really the key here is to always just follow your biggest desire, which is really the deepest one within you, or the smallest one you can find. So that's the key. Your biggest desire, the one you most want, is what I say when I say the biggest. The one you want the most is the one that feels the smallest. So it's the one that means it's the deepest within you. So that means if you come to one truth, you can always come to a new truth at the same time. So, it's infinite. So there's never an end to anything. It can always change for the better. It can always change for the worse. But we always have a choice of how it changes. And we always have the power to control that choice. And the rule and the law is the smallest thing always wins. And that also codes for things always turn out for the highest good. And that's to say, things always turn out for what's good, for the benefit of the most people. So that's to say, if we are to make sure that we win the war of this world with the antimatter world, we have to make sure that we actually, talk to people and make sure everybody feels good about the position we're in as a whole. So that means you need to talk to every individual spirit, every individual person, and say, hey, Are you feeling okay? You know, you need to be honest with your compassion, because that's what this time is about. It's about compassion. We need to be honest with each other, because now is the time for us to come together and hug each other and to cultivate each other as humans, because we are superhumans. We literally have anything we can do at our fingertips. There is nothing wrong except when we judge things. There's nothing wrong except when we judge things. No matter what happens to you, you may think it hurts, but it's okay, because it doesn't have to hurt, because pain is just equivalent to experience. Hurt is antimatter. Hurt is antimatter positivity. They really want hurt, because hurt feels good to an antimatter being. That's why we can't coexist in the same space, because they literally feel like they have to hurt, whereas a being as us feels we have to heal, or we have to be positive. That's our first sense. Their first sense is we have to hurt this. I have to destroy. I have to break this table. I don't have to eat off this table. I have to destroy it. I have to eat it and become it. You know, it's like they look at every single thing that they can possibly touch as food. You know, and that's because it's grown into what is like the allegory of greed, or, you know, the hungry hippo. You know, the person who can't stop eating, so they eat everything until they eat the one thing that's so poisonous they can't ever stop. And I have to be honest with myself. That's a paradox, as I have to constantly inhale and exhale, or I choose to buy marijuana and inhale it for pleasure and relaxation, which brings me balance when my wave sinks down. It's a way of bringing me a higher balance, or a quicker balance. So the thing is, the quicker you move, the quicker everything else moves too. So literally, the more we desire things, that speeds us up, because desire is time. Desire is the time to live, and time is the desire to live. And then, so I'm gonna play the song, and then it's really just going over everything that really happened and kind of trying to tie it in to everything, and making sure everybody can have a focal point to really understand the energy that we're dealing with, because it really is an all-encompassing spell and ritual that I've went through, and that's the product of it. And it allows you to fully understand the feeling you're gonna feel when these things are upon you. So I was one of the first people to experience the taste demons, which I made that up, because everything in existence is actually a demonic figure, which it just means a de-evolved man. It means a de-evolved moving negative, which just means the same, imagination collection. Whoa, smoking my air, my eye. So the thing is, I went over with the video, with that 3-hour video with the greatest threat. That is putting a label to something that has become real through what I was describing, who I met, because it actually involved me and my processes, because they were taking so much blood from me and using my blood because of my alignment and who I actually am as a spirit to activate the portal. So because they were allowed to use me, and they used the backdoor system of the health system and the police system to get in the legislative system to actually gather me up and gather my DNA up, they used that along with people they hired, you know, and they manipulated, you know, they bribed, and they did harmful things, and they really felt like harmful things were the best power to have. But really, the power is the same either way. It's just equal. It's just It's just they clash when they get too close together. You know, they constantly separate. That's the point. They're equal, but they constantly separate. So that's where this is coming together, because people think, you know, birds of a feather flock together, which is true. You know, people who feel the same, or, you know, think similarly would be the proper term, do actually tend to be in the same geographical location majority of the time. But also, everything exists in everything and nothing exists in nothing. So you also have those who think completely opposite in the same geographical location, just usually at a smaller concentration, depending on the concentration of everything else, because we can only have 100% of everything at once, and that's law. So, you know, 100% of everything is also infinite. So really, saying 100% of everything really just means a constantly growing and a constantly detailing, so a constantly expanding and a constantly condensing focus. So a 360-degree focus that constantly looks within itself deeper and constantly feels itself expanding more so at the same time. So here we go.
Bitch, I'm everything.
Y'all can figure that out, that last line. Had to keep it low key to keep it kosher, but it was hard. It was hard. It was everything it needed to be, you know? And I made that beat. That's nice. That's nice. All right. So you have three main collective energy points that are pools of energy off of certain groups of the main 7 chakras that we carry, that we have used to develop the entire world that we have today and everything that has ever happened in existence. So in those 3 minds is actually coding. So in that coding, you have what isn't words. So don't look at these as words. I don't even want people to look at them as letters. So the best way to look at these is sounds. Like literally, like you need to look at your vocal box as an instrument, and you're not speaking words anymore. You're just trying to make sounds at this point. Gibberish is out the question. You know, there's no such thing as gibberish right now. That needs to go. Gibberish needs to be out the dictionary. That's how I really feel right now. And if God were here, whatever you think God looks like here talking to you right now, it would say the exact same thing. So here we go. You have the main physical center, which is 1.5 inches to 2 inches below the belly button and about 1 inch in front of the spine. And that is, you could call that the chi chakra. So, we want to remember that the main thing we want to focus on here is what we feel from the sounds that we hear, not what we actually hear. You don't want to focus on what you perceive. You literally want to focus on what you feel. That's the key with these taste demons, because they actually feel everything, because the only way to be alive in any sense is to feel. So that means this table that I just tapped on literally felt that. And this thing that I picked up feels that. Just like I feel myself going like that. And my glasses feel myself doing that. And if I were to pause my phone would feel that too. So y'all understand. Everything is actually just living. So everything exists forever. Everything is immortal. So there's no getting rid of anything. We literally can just change things. That's our power. We're universal changers. We're universal healers. We literally can change anything to make it healing and to make it feel good. We have the power of the best feeling in the world to give it to anything with our power. And this is part of how we do that. Because if we're gonna do something when another space that conflicts with our space has such a complicated algorithm of a maze in their mind to actually come to a point where they could not be harmful to you, that's when that's essentially when you would need a something like this. So it'd be a point where you're physically involved with somebody. That's first. So you're physically involved with something. And then if you attempt to fight or flight and neither of those work, the fight doesn't work. If you can't fight, and the flight doesn't work, and then you can't fight when the flight doesn't work, or if the fight doesn't work, you can't fight when the fight doesn't work, then you can use something like this. So the chi chakra has a coding where you can call upon the power of the chi chakra of everything in existence. So that means to say you have to be aware of the constant expansion and condensing, constant expansion and condensing that I talked about earlier, because that is always happening. So when you focus on the chi chakra, like I explained the location of, 1.5 to 2 inches below the belly button, about an inch in front of the spine. That is the center you need to meditate on by touch. You can meditate on the front of that by touch, by going right there, and then you can come here literally with both hands. And then essentially you want to go in there. And it sounds crazy to say, but these beings can literally pass through physical walls. When I tell y'all, there was something that looked like a rock Pokemon that walked into my studio from below the ground level, and I know the difference. It walked in from below the ground level and touched me, and it dissolved the area it touched. Dissolved it like it was acid, and it would not leave. I said, get away from me, that hurt. You nearly killed me. And it touched me again. And I screamed loud, and then it jumped on me. And then the only thing I could do was think, scream, kya. Like that. That's my last chance. My last chance is right now, after realizing this and hearing this thought, to scream kya, K-Y-A-H, as loud as I can, and not worry about how it sounds. So all I said was, and before I know it, I was back. So that's part of the key. That's part of the key. That's not the power up for this chakra, but that is a similar effect to what I say is our real superpower. Where we already know what to do no matter what happens to heal the situation, because that's just our superpower. And believe it or not, their superpower is knowing what to do to hurt some shit whenever it wants to hurt some shit, and that's all the time. So, yeah. So with the chi chakra, that's when you're ever that's when that's when you're involved with a physical altercation, like how I was, but it's not really your last resort. It's like an intuitive last resort thing. So like, if in your last resort, this is key too, and it's very important that y'all are seeing this. In your last resort, you literally do whatever you desire, and that sounds crazy. But literally, you just do what you want, no matter what. And when your life's on the line, you just do what you want. That sounds crazy, but you just do it. Go up. So with the chi, the power up is, it goes calm, high, and then you scream guy, which really means God, which really means who I am. Don't judge it. Just take it as it is. So you need to take all your breath. If you are involved in a physical altercation and it's not your last resort, it is not your last resort beyond the desire to do this. Because sometimes your last resort desire action will actually be something different than what is common for the actual thing that you're powering up from, because maybe you need to power up from a specific part of that. That's where that comes from. It's not like the universal one. It's like a specific thing. Like if I had a special torch lighter, to just heat up one thing, or if I had a big torch lighter to heat up a big thing, so it'd be like a specialized tool. These are like universal tools. What I said with that kya was one of my specialized tools. So, okay, that's how I'm explaining that. So with the chi, it goes calm, high, guy. And right now, I already feel the energy from that power up, but I see how weakly I casted the spell, would be the correct term. how weakly I did it. So to properly do, I'm not gonna fully do it now, because if I were to do the physical power up, it feels like once you have the knowledge of properly doing it and practicing, and you cultivate it yourself in the proper balance, it literally feels like you're a Super Saiyan. And if you look at yourself, which you shouldn't do, you literally should not look in the mirror when you use this power up, because if you do look in the mirror, you're gonna attach to yourself because of the beauty that you see for the first time. So if you're not able to do it and look at yourself to be able to understand what unknowable beauty really looks like, because you have to understand what unknowable beauty is to be able to look in the mirror and to be able to do the power up without immediately powering down once you see yourself. Because a lot of times if you're so attached to yourself, like in this sense where you're looking in the phone and talking to yourself, recording yourself like that sense and looking at yourself, it's even harder because, a lot of people look at themselves as these bodies, as this. I don't look at myself as this. I look at myself as this stuff that I'm pointing to. Nothing. See that light? How it got brighter? I don't see myself as anything. I don't label myself at all. I don't label myself as any sound. That's key. These are just sounds. But we have had a secret knowing the whole time, but this is where we come full circle into becoming full knowing beings. Phoenixes. Dragons. So so that's the physical, that's the universal physical power up for if you have a disadvantage that you see but you don't know what it is, and you need an advantage to come out the situation on top. And it's also for if you have a disadvantage that somebody you're opposed against and conflicting with is using against you, and then you need an advantage. So it's to take over a disadvantage that's physical, or to take over to gain an advantage when you're at a disadvantage. That's what I'm trying to say. So just to review, it's calm, high, guy. And you want the calm and high to be one completely stuffed, full, chock full, completely full. You gotta stuff your lungs full of air and let that calm high be the completely, every bit of air. You want to damn near collapse your lungs just saying calm high to start. And then when you say guy, you want to act as if you're trying to never talk again. You're trying to remove your vocal cords. Because we don't really need vocal cords to talk. We're literally just making sounds. Like literally, like we don't need vocal cords to talk. Seriously, it's crazy, but we don't need vocal cords. So don't worry about if you're not going to be mute after doing it or practicing or anything like that. Just know that everything works off of your desire. So everything happens at the perfect time, and everything is perfect no matter what happens. So let's get it. Calm, high, guy. That's the physical one. Then we have heart. The center of the chest, the dead center of our spirit, right here. To show you, right here. Right here. Excuse me. And that one is hairy, ball, sa. As in S-Z-A. Za. So it's like you're saying huzzah, but you say hairy ball. La! You know what I'm saying? Like that. And then that essentially is for a mental disadvantage that you see in somebody, or if somebody's taking a mental advantage against you, which means you're at a disadvantage, you can take advantage of them with that. Hairy ball, za. And remember, whenever you have a supernatural sound, you want to say it as if you're saying it inside a cell of space, a cell of silence. You know what I'm saying? You want to say it as if you're saying it in an individual space of silence itself, of nothing. What I pointed to earlier. You know, if you can practice making light brighter no matter what, even in pitch black, that's a great way to make sure you're always safe no matter what. So then we have the mind, which is the third eye, and that's the third one. Remember, one move is three. We have one world where we have three energies working to control and keep us here. So we have three energies working together to maintain one world. And they are actually of this world. We are not of this world. And the key behind that is we are the good feeling that ever happened to this world. We created this world. They are born at this time because they are not older than us. Believe it or not, we come from a different world to this infinite world to show this world what it means to feel good, because they didn't have good before we showed them what it means to feel good and perceive pain as pleasure. So you just literally look at what hurts as different and say, damn, this feels you just feel like it's okay and all right. And that's literally what will lead to the thought that says this feels good. You know, this isn't pain, this is pleasure, but it's just like pain, it's just as good, but I like it better. You know, and then that's a key. You know what I'm saying? So that's what the mental power up does. That's what the heart power up does. I almost got to the mind, but that's what the mental power does. That's a side note. Remember, sometimes physicality moves way slower than the smallest thing. So the smallest thing moves the fastest. And then there's no motion at all. And then there's the biggest thing, which moves the slowest. So when you're in the mind, in the third eye, which is right here, about a ½ inch above the eyebrows, literally like this, like Goku, like the instant transmission. You can do both hands, But remember, you literally can pass through anything that is solid. You have all possibilities. That's just one of your possibilities, but you just got to realize. So, the mind power up is meningus, as in cunnilingus or whatever. I forget how you say that word, but it literally just means intercourse. But the key is meningus is to say you are aligned completely with the parallel of my focus. So that's to say, I'm in the same world as you, and I'm focused on you completely, and I am you. I am in you. And then that's to say, I am you. That is really to say, it could be assimilation, as to say, remote viewing from a specific geographical location, or, feeling somebody else's emotions or heart center to see what their true intentions are, or what they really have been putting with their thoughts into their self and developing into this action and body. So, meningus. That's a way to. That's the spiritual. That's the spiritual power up. So that's if you're at a spiritual disadvantage facing a conflict, or if you're trying to take an advantage on something that's taking advantage of your disadvantage, you would use meningus to essentially alleviate the problem. And what that does, it always just neutralizes. It's like the universal neutralizing agent. That's one of our great powers of our three energies that we carry, that we literally brought to this world of, what you guess? Nothing. We literally turn nothing into everything that you see here, and that's what's good about this. So you know I always say, what's good? We are. Bitch! So anyway, never forget where you come from. You got to realize what you are. So the people who don't remember and don't have this swagger can't say, I did this shit. And they really can't make you believe that. They fake. They are of the antimatter. So that is to say, you have to remember they are potentially a threat and will eventually be a kinetic threat soon. They're taking time bomb because the polarities don't align. They push each other apart. And then you're eventually going to be aligned with who's sucking towards you. And then everybody's going to be, it's like a constant chain reaction. It's just what is, what I'm saying? But this is just the explanation behind everything. So with meningus, it just neutralizes the spiritual threat. Essentially that would be instant transmission, because to neutralize a spiritual threat, you have to move spiritually, and geographically is spiritually. The spirit is space. Space, silence, expansion, contraction. Expansion, contraction. Expansion, contraction. That's another key too. If you're really trying to power up, you should literally just be saying expansion and contraction. And you should focus on that, expansion and contraction, however you have to do it, whatever. So literally, you guys should literally be watching superhero movies right now and telling yourself, I can do anything. And you should ask people, like, what can you do? And if they don't say, I can do anything, you better believe it too. You better tell them, I don't believe that. I know you can do anything, but you got to make me believe it for real so you can really power up like me, because I can do anything for sure. And then you don't need to challenge each other with harmful energy. It's playful energy to bring the best out of people. Athletes really understand this technique because it's one of the best ways to tap into the best spirit of somebody. So there's another key with these power-ups. When you use these power-ups, you essentially have to will the other collection of space in the opposite direction, because if it doesn't will itself, in the opposite direction. Because if you will it in the wrong direction, or if you will it in the direction that you go, which means you just say the word and you don't move non-physically, which means, and just to move non-physically just really means to polar shift, or to move against my body as myself, or to split myself as asexually. It's like asexual reproduction, but it's just for a small time period of your focus being split into asexual reproduction, like I said, and then letting go of it when you're back in the instant transmission location that you wanted to go. So in one of my videos, I have how to move non-physically in the title, so just check out that one, and then check out the greatest threat on earth to know how to understand what we're dealing with here, because we're not dealing with a threat that is human anymore. There's no threat that was born on earth, of earth. These threats were born of a different reality. Even though we were born of a different reality and came here to create this space over all this time to physically develop these bodies, these beings are just developing these bodies within this year. So, I mean, literally, like, within 3 months. Like the 3-month-old. Just about. So that's to say, we are literally beyond, less than 100 years old. We're literally beyond that as a whole group, everybody, we're literally beyond one lifetime here. We are many lifetimes. We know reincarnation is the truth of this world, because we have seen through exploring and creating this world that when we die, we constantly come back and know the same thing that we knew beforehand. So then we recognize each other, even though we tend to look different, but we recognize each other like, oh yeah, I remember there was a guy that knew that when I knew what I knew at this point right now. And it was literally aligned with some similar shit that we were talking about when I just realized this. And it's that deep. So you see how deep this is, infinite and everything. So basically it's hey is to move inwardly. So if you're trying to move something inwardly, that's hey. That means to move something deeper within you. So if you want to become something, you move it to hey. And you have he. If you want to send something down to learn its lesson, use hey. Use he. Use hey to become something that wants to stay away from you, that you actually know you need. And then you use he to send something lower than you down to the underworld to learn from Pluto. You send it to Pluto with he. And then these are just sounds. Don't look at these as words. Don't look at these as letters. Look at these as soundings. So then you have hey, he, you have ha. That's to send something up with you. Up. Hey. He. Ha. Ho. That's to send something out. Away from you. So, if you are in a conflict that is harmful to you, you want to ho it. So if it's a spiritual conflict, for one example, meninges ho. Don't stop that ho until it gets better. If you stop that ho, it's over. On God. So that's the key. That's just an example. Remember to take notes and write these down so you can make a chart and study it. You know what I'm saying? Or you could do it off your head. However you have to learn is best for you. I like to challenge myself by doing it out of thin air, because I feel like in the moment you can't look at a piece of paper and say, okay, wait. You know what I'm saying? You can't just look at a piece of paper. You got to know it. So you just got to practice off your knowing or your desire, because your desire is key. It's the truth. Your desire is truth. Hey, in, he, down, ha, up, with you, ho, out, away from you. And then who. And then who is a key, because who is to send something into understand its high itself. So you want to tell something who at the end of your power up and hold it as long as you need to and want to, when you want it to learn why it's become immortal. If you need something to learn its purpose, you use who. And then there's a sixth one, because it's all zazis. It's all zazis. All star 6. It's 6 points to a star, really. It's only 6 angulations to a star in every direction. So the last one is high. And high is essentially to birth something, to start the birth and to start a death. And the key with this, high is the sound I. High is just the highest form, because the breath is the highest form of any manifestation. The breath. So, believe it or not, we were breath first. So the breath is the highest form of manifestation. So it's basically to send it to understand the breath. Simple as that. So it's to send something to death that is harmful to you, and to bring into birth something that is beneficial to you in an actual space. So this is literally a spell to change the coding of something. When you use high, you need to understand what polarity you're using with with the being. So you need to understand intuition and instincts. You need to understand how you're going to send the being, because if it's an antimatter being, you want to send it up. If it's one of us who has gone too far to the good side, and it's become harmful to the point where they think something is good that it's not, which is so what I'm getting to. That's literally what you have to do. You have to send them up. So you would send a pure antimatter being down where it belongs, to learn why it's an antimatter being. It has to go to the underworld to learn why it's become what it is. And then if you send something up, like you would send somebody who was a natural born earth spirit, and not of antimatter soul energy. You know what I'm saying? Because like everything has a way of learning things, but it's just the effect and consequence of those things that really matters. So if you're dealing with something harmful, you're going to send it down. If you're dealing with something beneficial that's becoming overly beneficial, that's making you drunk or greedy, you need to send it up, because it's not you. It's above you. It's something that you should be getting towards. It's something that's not you. It's something you are getting ahead of. It's like super anxiety. But it's like anxiety, if anxiety had, 5 best friends that were just as bad as it in a weirdly similar way but different, and they all only stayed together and showed up at your crib every day at the same time and would wait till you come out no matter what. So you ain't getting rid of them. You just got to figure out what to do with them, whether they're there or not. So if they come back, you just, do something similar to that. So here goes. When you send something up, it's because something has become too beneficial. Now, the key with something becoming too beneficial is when something has actually been a benefit to you at one point, but it's of harm now. So if something has been of harm from the beginning, you send it down. If something has been of benefit at first and harm in a second point after that, in the present moment, you send it up. Because you need to teach it where it came from, where we come from as the healers. If they're the destroyers that we need to learn from and help, we need to send them down to the underworld. So, in order to properly use it, I'll give another example. You always reverse the word or the sound. So if you say hi, you want to say hi. Hi. Like that. You know what I'm saying? You want to hold it out. Hi. Hi. Oh ho. So. Oh so. Stop Clyde. That's how you would say my name, like that. So if you were sending something to my energy in this present alignment as this physical body, that's how you would tap into that. That's an example of reversing a word and putting it back. So the key is, if you're reversing a word and putting it back, with the antimatter beings, you're actually going to, because it's a mixed bag. Everything's this and everything. So we have to remember there's all possibilities. That's why I remember our desire is key. You know what I'm saying? So we have to follow our intuition, which is our feelings and emotions, and turn them into action, and use our thoughts and feelings to keep our focus on our feelings. So the key with these beings, some of them are actually humans that have fallen so far off the path that they have chosen to lead these beings. So they're the leaders, and they're the people that have been beneficial to us, and now they're harmful. So when they're beneficial and now they're harmful, you remember you want to send those up. So how do you send it up? high. Up is high. So we say a high at the end of our power up to gain our advantage. And then if we are to send something down because it is a brand new one that they have birthed and it has only been harmful to us, we send it down. And that we do with ee-hee, ee-hee, as in you're giggling. Literally, you should feel like you're giggling. Because literally when you go down into the underworld, it's such a good feeling. You just have to realize that, dang, it's not really all that bad. And then you realize as you come up, it gets bad. And then that's where you use the good feelings that you learn to actually become good. You're like, dang, I've been bad because had such free reign and nothing really mattered. So now that I've been allowed to live free, it's come to a point of the wave where everything has boiled over, and I have to learn how not to destroy myself, because it appears some of my things that we have created have gotten toxic to the point where they don't understand what they're doing. So I have to put everything in its place. That's why we're the universal healers that have come to this world. So you can use any combination of these things in any way. You know, you just have to follow your desire. Just remember that is a one size fits all for each of the three chakra hotspots, you know, that pulls in from the 7 chakras. So just to review, we have calm high guy in the chi chakra, 2 inches to 1.5 inches below the belly button and 1 inch in front of the spine. And then in the center of our being, in our heart, in the center of our chest, right here where the bottom of the breastplates meet, you have you have hairy boss, hairy boss, almost like you're saying hairy boss, ha. You know what I'm saying? Like you laughing at him with that shit. Like, I'm a hairy boss, bitch. Even if you bald, you had hair at one point. So, the thing is, with that one, you have to be careful, because if you use that one on something that you don't want tied to your heart, this is a quick disclaimer that needs to be there. If you use that one on something that's not tied to your heart, you'll leave it tied to your heart for a good while, unless you can consciously disconnect from that properly, and that would take some actual effort on your part, because the actual action, the counter reaction of getting attached to your spirit and your heart off of that, off a deeper sense as well, would also make it more attached to that, because you use what was a enormous amount of energy in an extremely quick time, like so quick, like, you know, time that we use, the labels we use for seconds doesn't even describe how quickly this actually passes by in the reality of time itself, because of the way supernatural events actually occur, and the real mathematics behind the complications and the simplicities that are counteracting and reacting with each other at the same time. It's like many things happening at once. So, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, just to review real quick before I wrap everything up, we have calm high guy, we have hairy boss, and then we have meningus. And then to control what you do with each of those power-ups, to move with the power-ups, you have to use hey, he, hi, ho, hu, ha. And that's all you need. That's all you need to heal any world by yourself. By yourself. Alone. One man against everything. Believe it or not, just to tell you the truth, everything is just in everything. So that's the key why we have to allow people to see the good in healing. Because if you can heal everything, everything can always constantly get better and improve, and you never will know how far it will go, because there's no end. It's just always here. So the key is to remember we have all possibilities and we're everything. We have all possibilities and we're everything. So there's a third one that pops up too, automatically. So that means that we can do whatever we want, when we want to do it, and how we want to do it. Just because the exact proportions of doing this are available to you now because you watch this video, doesn't mean that you can't find a way to do it through a similar realm of reality where it's done differently. You know, there may be a realm of reality where you literally have to, poop yourself even though you're 50 years old and you never pooped yourself since you were, 3 years old, but you may have to poop yourself to literally get rid of something and change something so you can, not have your floor collapse in your home because something walking on it that's really causing earthquakes that you don't know how it got in because it walked in through your door without opening it. So just use these things to your advantage, and then you will always know what to do when you need to do it. Because the desire is key. You just need to follow your desire, and you already know what to do. Because it's what you want, and that's your desire. Yeah!